Okay, so welcome, Toney Kincaid. The man who's an advocate, a pure advocate for epilepsy. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. I'm proud to be here.
So Toney, you've been an advocate for a long time. How many years?
Well, I started back when, I guess, about 94.
Oh, so I look back at 94 and it almost feels like it wasn't too long ago, but if you look back, it's over 25 years ago.
Well, you gotta look at it too. I'm getting old. But as far as the local group and the state group, we've been going about 6 years.
Right.
For the association.
Huh. Okay. So you've had quite the experience with seizures in the past, have you?
Yeah, in 1970, I had an AVM that ruptured in my brain.
Oh.
And they had to rush me to Baptist Hospital because it was leaking in my brain. They told me then I would have 5% chance or less of living. So I had the surgery.
Right.
And as you see, I did live through it, but it left a lot of scar damage behind it.
Oh, wow. So with some of the stuff that I've read, I've seen, you have quite the story with your surgery, don't you?
Yeah. But when I had it, I felt like, it wasn't happening to me. It should happen to anybody but me. Why me? But when I had the surgery, I came out and I was in a coma, I guess, about 2 months. And I woke up, I couldn't speak. I couldn't use my left side of my body at all. It was just dead weight.
Wow.
So it took me about 2 years to learn to talk again and learn to walk again.
Mm-hmm.
And since I've learned to talk again, I don't shut up.
Yeah, but your talking is for a good cause, which is a good thing.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
But, so shortly after I woke up out of this coma, that's when the seizures started.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while there, they were controlled on Delaney, phenobarbital, and mycilline, what they had me on.
All right.
And a very large dose of it.
So phenobarbital.
Yeah.
Delaney, I was on that. All right. Yeah, I was on that when I was younger. That was, I think, one of my first medication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old one. But with this medication and a high dose of it, I just stayed so drunk up and drowsy, I'd sit down and go to sleep. I just really didn't have a life to live. So after a while, the doctor told me, he said, we got to try something else. And I did go back to work, even though I was sort of crippled. I worked in sold mobile homes for a while.
Oh, okay.
I was good at that. But
oh, yeah?
I got where I like to talk after that. So.
Okay, so you were a good salesman.
I thought I was. I got trophies to prove it, but that's years ago. But then I got married shortly thereafter, and we have three children.
Oh, wow.
But what I want to talk to you about is my seizures were so uncontrolled after I got married, because I worked for 10 years, even though I was drugged up on this medication.
Okay.
I had a seizure in a lunchroom of Duracell Battery Company. And it was in front of 200 women that were eating. I remember falling backwards on the table, and that's all I remember. Then I woke up in the personnel office, and they told me as soon as I got where I could understand anything, they said, you don't have a job. We can't keep you working here anymore. It's dangerous.
So it's like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they called my brother to come and get me because they didn't want me to drive the car home. And I left, and that day when I left, I lost my job, I lost my health insurance, and I lost my self-respect.
So your whole life turned around?
It did, right there in that one seizure.
Wow.
And then within several weeks, the state of North Carolina Highway Patrol come and got my driver's license. And that was worse than having somebody close to you that died, because you lost any independence you had in this world. So
Mhm.
we had to do something. So we got with Wake Forest Baptist Hospital, which then
Right.
was called Bowman Gray School of Medicine. And we got in touch with a doctor, J. Kiffin Penry. He was a pioneer of early epilepsy medications.
Okay.
He took me in his research program,
Yes.
and he went all over the world trying to find something to stop my seizures, and he wouldn't do it.
Mm.
In fact, a lot of medications on the market today, I was
Uh-huh.
one of the first people that took those medications, but they just didn't work for me. And then we tried and tried and tried. And some, it was a double blind side study. And sometimes you were on medication, sometimes you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to see if it's just you or psychological, whatever. But his medicines just did not work for me.
Well, so how many types of medication did you try?
Oh gosh, I guess 10 to 15 different research drugs.
Oh yes. So that's
But
got to take it. That absolutely has to take a toll on your body,
it did. But
physically, mentally.
it did. It did because now this may sound dumb, but for 6 years, when my seizures were so uncontrolled, I
Mm-hmm.
sit here at my house. Nobody come to my house to see me.
Oh,
Nobody asked me, could they do something for me? My children, their parents wouldn't let their kids come and play with my children because they were scared to death they would get my epilepsy.
so why is that? How did they? I'm trying to figure this out here. Why
They
not?
they were so uneducated about epilepsy. But I
Mm-hmm.
would like to go back and say one thing to you. While I started getting on controlled epilepsy, and
Mm-hmm.
I attended the local church here, which the minister preached from the Bible that epilepsy is demon possession.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that was a common thing many years ago.
oh Lord, that was 20, 25 years ago. The preacher told me that I was full of demons. But
Wow.
well, he told me to come back into his parlor. He wanted to tell me something after church.
Right.
So we went there and he told me, he said, Tony, I wanted to tell you, I don't want you to ever come back inside this church house. He said, you got demons. The Bible says you are demon possessed. And I preach, and I'm scared that your demons will come out of your body and go into me.
So some kind of an exorcist?
No, he just said that way he preached. There's a verse in the Bible that he used where Christ cast the demons out of somebody and they went into pigs and the pigs run to the water and drowned. So therefore, I had seizures, then I fit that category. Because you would not believe the things I have been through with the epilepsy.
Oh yeah.
So, with all these other things going on in my life, and then my church tell me not to come back.
Really? Wow.
I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, epilepsy's got is so powerful, and people don't understand it. People who don't experience what epilepsy is don't really understand what epilepsy does to a person.
that's true.
Mm-hmm. So I've seen that time and time again when people had no idea.
But when I got disabled from Duracell, there were no programs out here to help me. Well, this was
Mm-hmm.
back in the early '80s, and I was married with 3 small children.
Right.
I'm buying my house. I have no income, no way to do nothing. And it got to the point I had to sell my life insurance policies and cemetery policies to pay my house payment.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't understand epilepsy. You know
No,
you got it, you out there. But
right.
it has changed since then.
Well, it has changed, but I think we still have a long road to go up to climb before it changes even more.
But while I was in Dr. Penry's research program at Bowman Gray School of Medicine, we got real close. And later
Mm-hmm.
I found out that his son had epilepsy.
Oh,
And went out into the barn and poured gasoline over his head and lit himself on fire.
really?
Yeah, and his son was in the hospital, and Dr. Penry had to unplug his life support. So Dr. Penry after that was so dedicated to epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me, he said, Toney, don't give up on me. We're going to find a cure for you. He said, where one door closes, there's going to be another one open. So toward the end of that 5 years with him, he come and told me, he said, Toney, I want to tell you, said, when you leave today, don't make any return appointments with me. I can't help you. Because at that time, I was having 3,000 seizures a month.
Wow. How did you cope with that?
I was like somebody that is in a fog somewhere.
Right.
But I was having every type of seizures he said was known to man at that time.
Oh, yes.
And when he told me not to make an appointment, I asked
Mm-hmm.
him, Dr. Penry, just what am I supposed to do? He said, well, Toney, I'm going to tell you, with your seizures at 3,000 a month for this long, go
Mm-hmm.
home and make preparations because you're going to be dead. He said, you'll probably die within 30 days time you leave here.
Wow.
So,
Huh. And here you
me and
are
my
so many
wife,
years later.
huh?
And here you are so many years later.
Well, me and my wife came home and we pulled over beside the road and we prayed about this.
Right.
How am I going to go home and tell my children about this?
Mm-hmm.
And I was home for about 1 month and the phone rang and it was a company called Cyberonics in Houston, Texas.
Right.
They were researching the vagal nerve stimulator. And they told me that we don't have any human to put this in and we can't find one. And we don't know what to do or how it would even affect you. Would you do it?
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, I was in the operating room having it put in.
Really?
But my son told me much later, he said, Dad, I would go to school and knowing how bad you was having seizures, I couldn't concentrate or study because I knew I was going to come home and find you dead. And I didn't know it was affecting my children that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But in those years, my kids growing up, they would have basketball games, PTA, and other events.
Yes.
I could never attend one. I know they had field day every year. I couldn't go to none of those. And you go 6 years not driving, and there's no free transportation out here then. And even my own parents wouldn't come around me because of my epilepsy, because
Really?
they went to the church I just spoke to you about.
Wow. So I was gonna ask you a question about family, and yeah, you're bringing it up right there. It's wow. So family was not really supportive.
No, they weren't because I lost my job, I think, was in September. And December rolled around. I didn't have any money or way to buy my children Christmas gifts. I didn't have a way to buy my wife anything for Christmas.
Okay.
My family had their Christmases together, and I didn't even have money to buy food to put on our table for Christmas dinner.
So this condition really took a toll on every part of your life.
Yes, it did, and everybody in my life and my children.
Uh-huh.
But
So
when you look at it, you say, where is the compassion? Why don't people care about people with epilepsy?
And you wonders what is Mike. I have a question. Is that why do you think so many people don't understand?
Well, if it doesn't affect them, they don't care to learn about it. But there's old stories about epilepsy has come up from before Jesus Christ today about demons, and it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I asked my wife to marry me, her father told me, he said, I don't want my daughter marrying you, you're lazy. I said, no, I'm not. So we got married, and it wasn't long after that. People where she worked at the health department told her she should leave me. She
Really?
deserved a better life. She shouldn't be tied down to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that was very hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
But you take 6 years in isolation, that's
But
hard for something you can't help.
right. But the good part about this is that your wife stuck by you all these years.
She did, and I got to give her credit because I've looked back on my own life and I said, if the roles were reversed, could I be that strong?
Right.
Could I be strong enough to support her through this? And
Mm-hmm.
it makes me wonder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a yes, she makes a wonderful lady, by to
Well,
be just
at that
strong.
at that time when I was working Duracell, I made good money, and my wife stayed home with the children.
Yes.
But when after I started having seizures at Duracell, she had to go to work just to get me health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And that took half of her paycheck to get me health insurance where I could see a doctor.
Right.
I have to admire her, and I do love her for standing by me because she's a good woman.
Oh,
And
for sure.
after all, I'm not so bad myself, I don't reckon.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be a laugh.
Oh. Huh. But so it's with your past, with everything you've gone through. That has anyone ever? I'm looking for the term here. Maybe brought you down, or ridiculed you, or made fun of you?
Oh, I've had that ever since I've had epilepsy. Like I say, Betty's daddy called me lazy. I would go around and have seizures around him. And he did make a lot of fun of me.
Oh.
We would be talking, and then it would be just blank sections where I couldn't catch on to nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
he just thought it was so funny. He thought I was just being ignorant. But to show you how your family cares about you, I had a doctor's appointment.
Right.
And I didn't have a car to go in. And my wife called her daddy to use his car. He said, yes, you can use my car, but you've got to fill the gas tank back up when you bring it to me. And
Mm-hmm.
there I was. I didn't have any money to pay for stuff like that. He had no compassion for me. And it takes a long time to get over things like this and learn from it and use it. And it's been hard, but I've got there.
Oh,
But this is a reason I try to advocate for others. I don't want nobody to have to go through my trail that I had to walk through by myself.
right. That makes you who you are, Toney. You're. This is why you. This is why you've got such a great passion. You want to make a difference into everybody else's life, and that defines who you are.
Well, I guess you're right because I do care about people. I know what it's like to be on your back and can't get up, and have the only place you can look is up.
Mm-hmm.
So you get real spiritually connected, and that's what's got me through it.
Right.
And now I want to reach out to other people. I know you probably don't care about the experiences I've talked to people about, but I met an older woman. She was 87 years old because I
Yep.
go speak to groups. Every time I get a door open, I go in to talk to them about epilepsy. And she asked me, said, Mr. Kincaid, can I talk to you after you get finished your message? And I talked to him about epilepsy and how people were so misunderstanding about epilepsy. And she asked me, and I know she had started crying while I was talking. So I walked over after everybody left and I said, ma'am, what can I do for you? She said, Toney, I'm 87 years old. I know I'm going to die soon, and I don't want to die with this on my conscience. I said, what was it? She said, well, when I was about 7 years old or 80 years ago, my sister had epilepsy. And said, my daddy was a drunk. And my sister at 14, he was raping her. And my mama found out. And my mama made arrangements to give my sister away. And said, I haven't seen her in 80 years. Said, all because of epilepsy. And said, I don't want to die with that on my heart. So I've never talked to anybody about this before. So I feel like it's my job to go out and talk to people. I went to the social services senior citizen group 2 years ago, teaching epilepsy first aid. And they were the men there, 102 years old. I've got his picture with him together. And he told me, said, Toney, I want to tell you, I've enjoyed your message. You touched me. Said, but that shows you, you're never too old to learn. And that really made my month.
Yes. So it sounds like you've encountered a lot of heavy stories out there.
Well, they're out here because there's nobody that can talk to people about epilepsy. Like the lady I told you, they hide it. And I would have never believed a mama would give her daughter away because of epilepsy, even though it was 80 years ago. But maybe I shouldn't say this, but in North Carolina, it's really backwards when it comes to epilepsy.
That's strange because isn't the number 1 in 26 will encounter epilepsy at some point in time in your lives?
Yep. But I have something else I'd like to talk to you about.
Oh?
Well, several years ago, when I started this, I remember I was with my brother one time, and he was driving because I couldn't drive. And I started to a grand mal seizure because I felt my left arm going behind my back and couldn't stop.
Okay.
And next thing I was aware of, there was a North Carolina State Highway patrolman having me beside the road, making me walk. And that's how uneducated North Carolina it is. And I wasn't even conscious when they had me walking beside the road. So it's not changing. I can go by, I have been by the rescue departments and ask them, and I've done classes for them. I said, why is it when somebody has a seizure, your first guess, are they on drugs? Are they drug addicts? I said, I'd like to know. I was with my children one time at a shopping center for Christmas to get some gifts. And my seizures were bad, but I wanted to get out with them. I was in the store. I felt the seizure come on. I leaned on the buggy. The next thing I know, store security thought I was drunk. And, and the first thing they do is they come there with those lights on, the blinking lights. And that is the worst thing you can do around somebody's epilepsy. I
mean, those flashing lights, that's such a common thing.
Yep.
With epilepsy. And what you're just talking about your flashing lights. And I recall the one time when I got stopped driving a pedal bike. I was 17 years old. And the officer that stopped me asked me if I was drunk. And he asked me if I was drinking. And I told him that I hadn't. So when he asked me, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, no, officer, I didn't drink. Well, however, I was just coming out of a seizure and I had no idea because my seizures were completely unaware.
Yeah.
And when I came out of that seizure and jumped back on my bike, because apparently I fell over. I got on my bike again, my bicycle, started pedaling my bike, and my bicycle was weaving around in the road. So the officer had reason to be concerned. So he asked me, and I told him, but then he got a little closer to me. He asked me again, "Have you been drinking, sir?" And I told him no. Then I'm assuming he was smelling my breath and noticed that there was nothing there. But the crazy part is once he was done, he asked me where I was going. And I told him I was going home, which was just around the block. He says, "Okay, make your way home." But if I hadn't been drinking and I was in that state, why didn't he bring me home?
Yeah.
I don't know. Till this day, I don't get it.
Right.
I just don't get why. And this is not only myself. This is a common thing that happens out there all the time.
Well, the only thing I had to keep me partly sane through all this, I love genealogy. I love history.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, my daddy died when I was 52. So, I mean, when he was 52. So I didn't know him. So I wanted to research our family. And I got really way back in it. I was interested in epilepsy. I found relatives. I researched mental institutions, trying to identify epilepsy, how it was in those eras. And it was something else. Even going all the way back, as far as I could get, I went to Salem, Virginia. I don't know if you remember that or not in your history. It's where back then, if you wasn't a certain way with religion, or if you were peculiar or didn't act right, they would put you to stake and burn you. So this really interested me, and come to find out, I had some relatives that had epilepsy back then that were executed by the church. And that's how long it's been going around that I could go back to connect to.
Right.
All the way back to Salem, Virginia.
Wow. That's something that if you thinking that society was actually doing this is crazy.
Well, that was the church and their beliefs they were teaching from the Bible, and it's still around today.
Yes, and that's not going back far, all that far back.
Well, I give you a few figures right fast? That'll show you how backwards North Carolina is. Until 1969, the state could have you sterilized if you had epilepsy. Until 69, the state could deny you a marriage license in North Carolina. You were denied public education. You were denied driver's license. They did so many things that's been here until the 70s. And the state has not progressed that much, nor has the country.
Wow.
But you know what got me though, it's that way right now. I had a Sam's Law passed in my county by the school board.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
That gives children the right to attend a public school, because you know our Americans with Disability Act states if they take tax money, they have to give us rights. So it took me a while to get it passed in my county, but they have it. And a mama called me just the other week, said, "Tony, my daughter's been out of the class for a little while. She's been in Baptist hospital and they changed her medication because she was having quite a few seizures. And she's in preschool." She said, "I took my daughter to school and they refused to let her come inside the schoolhouse." I said, "Why is that?" She said, "Well, they changed her medication and the doctor wanted the school to have emergency medicine to use with her in case she had a seizure. They refused to do it." So I got on my phone and I called a chairman of the school system. And I told him what was going on. He said, "You got to be joking me." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "They all know this was approved for children." And he called the school and they had her in the classroom that afternoon. Without that, if somebody make them, it would never happen. So I advocate a lot. In my county, people with epilepsy can't drive. At least 7% of them that have active epilepsy not going to drive. So I went to our transportation department and I went there with the American with Disabilities Act with me. And I met with the board and I told them, I said, somebody with epilepsy, if they want to ride your bus, would have to walk to the street or have to walk to a bus stop somewhere to get on your bus. I said, that's not right. I said, somebody get beside the road can have a seizure, walk out on the highway and get killed. I said, it's not right. So after a while, we kept talking and they decided in Davidson County, they would provide bus service to everybody with epilepsy.
Okay.
They would go to your house and pick you up in your driveway. And they would provide care for you if you need help to get on and off a bus.
And you were part of this?
Yeah. And a lot of people tell me, Tony, I can't get to the drugstore. I got to do without my medicine. I can't get there. Nobody wants to help me. I've had it so long. And if I call somebody, they hide and don't want to talk to me. But it got where it takes them to the store, or the grocery store, takes them to the drugstore, takes them to a doctor, and they will provide return transportation for you. Right. And none of this was done for nobody in this county before.
Wow. So you're doing awesome work, Tony.
Well, I'm just the kind of person that won't take no for an answer.
It takes that.
There got to be somebody out there who will be compassionate with a heart.
And knowing you must be, you got a very strong skin. I've seen some things that you've put out on posts and in different locations, and it takes somebody who's quite strong to be able to do what you're doing.
Well, I'm doing what I should do. I'm doing what I need to do because I couldn't rest. I couldn't be myself if I wasn't speaking up for those that can't speak for themselves. And I'm not big on politics, but we're going to try to get this bill passed in North Carolina. It sounds law, but if you get a chance today, Google the name Sam Davis.
Yeah, let me write that down.
Died here.
So Sam's what?
Her name's Sam Davis.
Sam Davis, yes.
She went.
She was a young lady.
Yeah, she was in Moore County, was going to school, and she died from a seizure. It made her go into cardiac arrest, and she died. Nobody knew what to do. They just let her lay on the ground, and she died. And I don't want to ever see this again, or ever hear of it again. So we deserve much better.
Yes.
So
no, this because so many people don't know that this it can actually be deadly.
Yep. I've never seen so many people die as I have this past year that I knew that died. Well, one is this year we wanted to have children and have them called our beauty queens. Because so many children go to school and are laughed at, humiliated, put down. But I wanted to get these children across our state and let them have these titles and promote it. Because one of the mamas told me, said, Tony, my daughter was so bad. And if you do this, it will make her life. And we were going to do that on a Saturday. And Thursday night, the little girl I picked for Little Miss Epilepsy lived in about 20 miles from my house. She had a seizure. Her mama took her to the local hospital in Greensboro. she died en route to the hospital where she lived. And she had a grand mal seizure, and it stopped her breathing, and then her heart stopped, and she died. And she wasn't about 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
And we were going to crown her the day she died. And people don't realize epilepsy does kill. You gotta, I mean, regardless of your age, young or old or whatever, it's gonna kill you. But another thing while we're talking, people don't realize the fastest growing percentage of people getting epilepsy are senior citizens because of the strokes, the heart disease, and the medication they're taking. And we've been teaching how to do first aid on a senior person if they were at home or in a recliner or wherever they were at on a bus.
Yeah.
Just what do you do? And we've been teaching a lot about first aid in North Carolina. But what really startles me, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but we did have an epilepsy foundation. Now you can censor this out.
Okay.
And the reason I started this group, because I kept asking people, I said, I went to the foundation one time when I first got disabled, didn't have insurance to help me get my medication, and they wouldn't do it. And I asked them, I said, have they ever helped you? No, I didn't know we had one. And then I got talking to doctors. I got talking to hospitals. And in North Carolina, you find maybe 5% of the hospitals that will have epilepsy literature in it. And probably less percentage of that in doctors' offices. It's never promoted. It's never, people's not educated about it. I went to a local news channel and I said, here I am, 69 years old. I've never seen an epilepsy commercial on TV. Why is that?
No, you're right. Neither have I.
She said, well, let me tell you, epilepsy don't sell. Epilepsy, people don't want to hear that stuff. I said, but you get dog commercials in their last 8 minutes wanting you to help a dog. I said, isn't a human as good as a dog? And we've never done it. We held our very first Epilepsy Awareness Month in the state of North Carolina 2 years ago. I got in touch with the governor, his office. Well, I didn't talk personally to him, but I talked to his office. They said nobody in the state had ever asked for a proclamation, nor did they let them know there was such thing as an Epilepsy Awareness Month. It is just something else that you won't believe it. And I'm sure it's countrywide.
Oh, yes.
Well, let me hush up and let you talk.
Wow. That's no, that's, thanks for sharing, Tony. It's there's so much in there, so much to grasp, so much education for what you're saying. And this education that you provide.
We are not funded by nobody. We get out and raise our own money. And the print and stuff, it just went off.
No, you're still there.
I don't see you.
Oh,
but we hit join the meeting again.
No, I can see you quite well.
I don't see you at all. But anyway, what I'm saying, this group to start off, no money, not one penny, but the good Lord had blessed me to get enough money to do what we need. We don't have a lot, but we get what we need.
Yes.
But when we're printing this stuff, and we also do events to bring awareness of epilepsy. We do a car show, we do a 5K run, and so many things we do. We take part in festivals around the state, giving out literature and talking to people.
Right.
This year ago, we were in a festival in a little town out from us. And I walked up the street to see what was there. And there was a man in the middle of the road having a grand mal seizure. And everybody around there, instead of trying to help him, they whooped out their cell phone so they could record it.
Okay. Ouch.
And I just thought that was the dumbest thing. So I went to the policeman. I said, I am certified in epilepsy first aid.
Mhm.
I said, you need to get this man off his back. He's beating his head in the payment and bleeding. Policeman told me, said, move on, just move on. I went back and told him, I said, I can't move on. You got to do something for him.
Mhm.
And he said, I told you, go away. And they let that poor old man lay there and beat his head in the asphalt, bleeding.
Wow.
And they had to be at least 50 people all circled around him with the video camera or the cell phones out filming it. And
Filming and post.
it's really bad because people don't understand.
Yes. But it's such a devastating condition that especially police officers, ambulance or firemen, people who deal with the people should know, or should really know what's going on here.
Well, it goes back to what I just said. Nobody wants to know. This condition we have has been so demonized, so put down. If you have epilepsy, you're ignorant. If you have epilepsy, you're retarded. And you know, it's hard to change these things that people think.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, no, I get it. So I remember myself growing up. So I've had epilepsy since I was this long.
Yeah.
So I've been so forever. And in school, it didn't take long for me to understand that I felt rejected.
Yeah.
Yes. So within in a matter of a short period, I put a bubble around myself,
Yep.
which was going to be a layer of protection, so to stop people from trying to hurt me.
Well, I did that as a safe zone for myself.
That's right. That's exactly what that was. And because kids out there could get cruel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And as I grew up, and I wouldn't share with it after a certain period. I wouldn't share with anyone that I had epilepsy, because I felt that was my safest path. I understand why people don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I know. It's not only about the shame. It's about if as soon as you disclose something like this, all of a sudden you feel the negative feelings that come out that from the outside are coming in.
You do.
Yes. So I can completely understand why people don't want to share.
Well, this is like this on the Facebook pages I have. I ask people, our main goal is to be supporters of each other, to be there to understand somebody when they want to talk or need somebody to vent to. But on one of my pages, I got 4,700 people on that list.
Wow.
And I bet you only, well, I'd say less than 30 people really respond on that list. I don't know where they don't want to talk about it because they got it, or it bothers them to talk about it because they have it. But I'm here for them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys that you post on his webpage, your pictures and stuff, he sent me a note today. He said, Tony, I'm going to quit what I'm doing. I just feel like hard as I work, I get no return back from it.
Okay.
I said, well, I've been in the dark so long, I don't care. This is what I'm going to do, and nobody reads it. So be it. I'm not stopping for nobody. But I guess I'm that kind of person. I do want to help people, but I won't give medical advice of any type.
Okay, good. That's so I get that. I feel the same way. Now I when I say stuff, because I know what it's taken for me to eliminate my own seizures, and I've disclosed that in the past. But then, and before I say it, I make sure that what it is just myself sharing my experience. Yeah. So I'm not a medical doctor. I've got no ties with the medical field. It's just my own experience, and this is what it's done to me. So when I tell people that I created a triangle, and I follow that triangle really religiously, where the top of that triangle is I reduce my stress as much as I can.
Yeah.
And
Well,
once the stress is reduced. Sorry, go ahead, Tony. Were you going to say something?
well, I was just going to mention that my religion's got me through it, my spiritual beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had very negative experiences with churches, quite a few churches over my epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
But I am in a church now that has accepted me. They helped me start the Epilepsy Association. They
Right.
house it in their church. They give us the grounds to have our fundraisers on. And we've really made an inway in some churches. And I thank them for, taking us in and letting us do this, because it was my dream to start this group to help other people. And I told the pastor, I said, we're supposed to be Christ-like. I said, do you think Jesus Christ would turn his face away from me because I have epilepsy? Would he be ashamed of me because I have it? I said, you're supposed to be the same way in his likeness. So some like it and some don't like me saying that.
Right. Wow. So that it's great that you're in the church now. That you're part of the church.
Well, that's what got me through it. It wasn't the church, it was my faith in God.
Your faith itself, yeah.
Yep. So
okay. So it's just absolutely super that you're doing all this. So if you don't mind me asking,
okay.
Who is your biggest supporter, Tony?
Oh, I love basketball. I used to play basketball in elementary school and high school.
Right.
And I still love basketball, but
oh yeah.
After I learned to walk, it left my left side weak, and I had balance problems with it. And I just found out this week that the company that makes Delanton is in a large class action lawsuit because of their medication. So I went to my hepatologist and I told her what problems I was having, because I just fall out of the blue before I know it. And I told her some other things were going on with me. And she's the one brought this up about the Delanton to me. She said, Tony, I don't know if anybody took more Delanton than you have.
Wow.
And he said, what they found out, said seizure medicine will shrink your cerebellum in your brain because it deals directly in your brain.
Yep.
She said, that's one side effect that's never talked about by anybody. And said, now you have that problem. She said, are you interested in me writing you a letter? I said, no, ma'am, I'm not looking for no lawsuit. I don't want nothing to do with it. But I did want to know what's making me have these problems. But, I posted about that. I don't know if anybody read it.
Yes.
But she would tell me it's about any kind of medication, whether it's epilepsy medicine or whatever, it's not good for you.
Okay. Wow. But so yeah, so it's quite the experience you have, Tony. But if just for the audience, with all the work that you're doing, all the you talk about Sam's Law, you're talking about different things that you've done, and about the buses, and how can people view your work? Where can they go to see you?
Well, I've got I started the association and we got about 15 Facebook pages.
Right.
Or they can message me at my message on here, and I'll be glad to talk to them. Some people get in touch with me and I talk to them on the phone or wherever they need.
Okay. So if they're going to message you, how would they get in touch with you? Just plug in your name?
Yeah. I'm all over the internet, believe me.
Okay, so that's Toney Kincaid. Okay.
Right. Or the Epilepsy Association, North Carolina.
Oh, all right.
Or Sam's Law.
Okay, that's another one. All right.
Yep.
Wow. So I know you're everywhere.
I know I've got 15 different counties come together because all this time,
Mhm.
the foundation, the Epilepsy Foundation did not bridge the people together.
Mhm.
I went after the people that fell in the cracks, that were really, really hurting, that needed compassion, needed somebody with them.
Yes.
So I started this group, and we've reached out to 15 counties right now, and started active epilepsy support groups for them to talk to each other.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then we have our association meeting every other month. So we are really busy. Like I say, we find ways to promote epilepsy in their area.
Mhm.
In your area, like I say, 1 out of 26 people will have epilepsy at some point.
That's 1 out of 26. Wow.
But as I've been dealing with these lawmakers, it's been hard to get in the doors because they're busy people. But some tell me, I've never told nobody, but my son has epilepsy and
Mhm.
my granddaughter has epilepsy. But I don't want
Right.
nobody to know that.
Mhm.
And it's these walls we're trying to break down.
No. Yes.
I just got a call today. We hired us a lobbyist this year for Sam's Law.
Mhm.
And she said she met with them today and they may bring the draft to the floor in 2 weeks. And she said she's more optimistic this year than she's ever been that it'll pass.
Mhm.
It's
Wow.
not
Great.
been easy,
Okay.
but
So is it so these things that you've got going? So I think you've got Congress on board too, right?
yes, anybody that I can get in touch with to bring.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I was going to tell you. Do you know the man that wrote the American with Disability Act? His name is Toney Kincaid or something like that.
No, it doesn't ring the bell.
Well, anyway, I was at Cyberonics. I was able to meet with this man, and
Mhm.
he had epilepsy, and he wrote the American with Disability Act because he was representative back then. And I had the honor to sit and talk to him my gripes. And I hope that helped influence some of his deal that he did get passed.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
if we just sit back, don't
That's
speak up for ourselves. And I tell everybody, there's more strength in being united than is standing here by yourself hollering.
Mhm. See,
I told all these groups, I said, we're not competing against each other. We'll
right.
work to get our own goal that we all are striving for.
Yes, because we need to get the word out there. We need to talk to people who are bigger than us, who are uh, who are uh, who are connected.
Yeah.
Like you talk about Congress, talking about. I know you have some judges on your team.
Yes, I do, and I'm very proud of these judges. One is on state Supreme Court, or the Court of Appeals, or local courts.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been pushing this because so many children come into the court systems, and it may be an epilepsy problem, but maybe they be tried in a different way. Maybe they were having a seizure when somebody thought they were doing something wrong.
Yes.
Well, these judges now are aware of this. And another thing we've done a couple years now that I really love doing. When I was younger, we were so poor when my daddy died. We couldn't have
Mm-hmm.
Christmas. And I said then, I'll never let that happen to somebody else if I can help it. So now we got what we call the Purple Christmas Box. And I got with the Department of Social Services. And I asked them, can we help them? She said, yes, we have children that were pulled out of their home out of neglect, abuse, drugs. And said, they in our system. And they're not going to have parents to help them for Christmas, give them anything. So we decided we would start this project, and I posted all over the country about it. wanting donations of toys and stuff to give to these children, gloves,
Mhm.
hats, CDs, anything. And we've done that for 2 years. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Oh, one of the biggest things we do, if you get on the internet and look, is what we call our Purple Bear Project.
Purple Bear Project.
Yeah, we give out purple
Yeah.
bears. I've met a
Mhm.
group of ladies that I went to a meeting in Thomasville to the Chamber of Commerce to present a program on epilepsy for their board.
I hope so.
Mhm.
One of the ladies told me, said, Tony, said, I've never told nobody, but I have epilepsy. I said, well, I'm trying to get a project going, making purple bears to give to children with epilepsy that's uncontrolled in the hospitals. And they got talking to me and they said, well, we'll knit these for you. And they did. And they call themselves, it's not no joke, they call themselves the Happy Hookers because they hook yarn to make these bears.
Mhm.
And I've given out about 194 of their bears to children with uncontrolled disability, epilepsy. Many of them are in the hospitals. And the reason I do this, I call them comfort bears because the parents will have to go home. And that child needs something. There's no, somebody cares about them. So we give them these purple bears.
Oh, that's such a great action.
And the parents send me pictures of the children in the hospitals, and it just touches your heart.
Mhm.
Glad to know you can do something.
Yeah.
And a lady sent me one where her child had to go to have the 3-day EEG, and she took her little purple bear with her, and they wrapped its head up just like hers, and had some kind of wires running off of it, so that child.
Oh, really? Wow, how thoughtful.
I've got the picture if you ever want to see it.
Yeah, that'd be really nice to see.
But we're more known across this nation for the purple bears because we started,
Okay.
and I give them all over this country. And we buy our own yarn for the ladies. I pay shipping for each one of those bears to be shipped out.
Okay.
And it's at our expense. Even
Mhm.
the Lord blesses us for everything we do. That's the only way we can function.
Okay. Well, that's right. So that's an awesome story that you've got. And then thank you so much for sharing all this, Tony.
Well, I didn't mean to talk your ears off, but you talk epilepsy to me. I talk to you all day.
Yeah, that's just it. That's because it's in your heart. And that's what you're meant to do. And to educate people on epilepsy and what epilepsy is all about. So if you have one last message for the audience, what would you want to leave them with?
Well, I think there should be more people reaching out and show from their heart they have love for you because you're a human, you know less than anybody else. So we're all the same.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. We're all the same.
Yep.
Just because Tony has epilepsy or I have epilepsy makes me no different than anyone else out there.
Well, you know, for me to have epilepsy, it's no worse than somebody come and say, I got diabetes. Because I feel the same for them. I support them. Because I don't know what they're going through, but I will listen to them. I will encourage them.
Mhm.
And that's what we're all supposed to do.
Yes. Wow. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on here with me, Tony. I really appreciate it. The audience will also appreciate this. So again, if you want to get in touch with Tony.
I read your post. I said, me and this man's got something in common because he thinks deep. He puts his feelings in his graphics. And that's why I'm glad to talk with you.
Thank you. Because the reason why I post out there is actually what I post is what I live.
Well, good.
And what I've lived is what I was able to reduce, how I was able to reduce my seizures and on a whim and through the state of mind. And so for those who want to see Tony's work, so type in Toney Kincaid in Facebook or actually on the internet, and you'll find Toney Kincaid with all the great work he's doing with epilepsy and all the laws that are coming out and the people he works with. You should see the people the quality of people that he's got on board. And if for my work, look up danielvincent.mykajabi.com. That's my website where I've got my work on there and with what I do. So once again, Toney, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to the whole hour just dedicated to what we spoke about. Thank you so much. Thank you again.
I appreciate you asking me, and I appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you. All right, Toney. So have yourself a great evening, and I'm sure we'll be in touch at some point.
Okay. Thank you a lot. I appreciate you.
Okay, sir. Have a good night.
Bye.